미디어 프로젝트의 구주 3차 시강의를 시작하겠습니다. 챕터 6은 기하급수기업 세우기입니다. 11단계는 주기적으로 핵심 질문을 하는 것입니다. 핵심 질문은 8가지로 이루어집니다. 이 질문은 스타트업을 세울 때 한 번 하는 것이 아니라 반복적으로 계속해서 질문해야 됩니다. 첫 번째는 우리의 고객은 누구인가입니다. 두 번째는 우리는 고객의 어떤 문제를 해결하는가입니다. 세 번째는 우리의 해결책은 무엇인가입니다. 네 번째는 제품이나 서비스를 어떻게 출시할 것인가입니다. 다섯 번째는 제품이나 서비스를 어떻게 팔고 있는가입니다. 여섯 번째는 시효에 대한 한계 비용을 낮춰줄 바이럴 마케팅입니다. 고객 추천 지수를 이용해서 지지자로 변환합니다. 일곱 번째는 고객층을 어떻게 확장할 것인가입니다. 여덟 번째는 공급 한계 비용을 어떻게 0에 가깝게 낮출 것인가입니다. 기하급수 기업의 가장 중요한 질문은 다음 것입니다. 기하급수 기업의 특징인 10배 확장 가능성을 달성하려면 아이디어스와 스케일 요소를 조합하여 공급 비용을 기하급수적으로 낮춰야 합니다. 마지막으로 이야기할 것은 타이밍입니다. 그 어떤 스타트업도 성공하려면 필요한 기술과 치열한 노력 그리고 적절한 시장 타이밍이 조합되어야 합니다. 커즈와일은 발명이란 발명이 시작되었을 때 세상이 아니라 발명이 완성되었을 때 세상에서 이해되어져야 한다고 말합니다. 무의 법칙을 감안할 때 2, 3년 내에 가능해질 기능이나 능력이 무엇인지를 생각해야 됩니다. 현재가 아니라 가까운 미래를 염두에 두고 제품 개발을 한다면 성공 가능성은 월등히 높아집니다. 12단계는 플랫폼을 만들고 유지하는 것입니다. 플랫폼 전문가 차우더리는 성공한 제품이 아니라 성공적인 플랫폼을 만들려면 4단계가 필요하다고 말합니다. 첫 번째는 소비자의 고민점이나 용도가 무엇인지 확인하는 것입니다. 두 번째는 생산자와 소비자 사이 소통에서 핵심 가치 단위나 공유 대상이 무엇인지 확인합니다. 여기에는 뭐든지 해당될 수 있습니다. 그림, 농담, 사용 후기, 툴, 자동차 타기 등 모두 이미 성공한 케이스들입니다. 많은 사람들이 생산자임과 동시에 소비자라는 사실을 기억해야 됩니다. 세 번째로 소통을 용이하게 할 수 있는 방법을 설계해야 됩니다. 그런 다음 자유자재로 조정할 수 있는 작은 시제품 플랫폼을 만들어 봅니다. 그 수준에서 성공한다면 한 차원을 끌어올려서 규모를 확대할 수 있습니다. 네 번째는 소통을 중심으로 어떻게 네트워크를 형성할지 결정합니다. 플랫폼 이용자를 홍보대사로 탈바꿈시킬 방법을 찾습니다. 플랫폼을 구축하기 위해서 기하급수 기업은 데이터와 응용 프로그램 인터페이스 측면에서 다음의 4단계를 따릅니다. 수집은 알고리즘 프로세스에서 데이터 활용부터 시작합니다. 데이터는 센서나 사람들을 통해서 수집되거나 공공 데이터 세트에서 입수합니다. 다음 단계는 데이터를 정리하는 것입니다. 세 번째는 적용입니다. 데이터가 사용 가능 상태가 되면 기계학습이나 딥러닝 같은 알고리즘이 통찰을 뽑아내고 트렌드를 확인하고 새로운 알고리즘을 만들어냅니다. 마지막 단계는 노출입니다. 그 데이터를 오픈 플랫폼 형태로 노출시키는 것입니다. 오픈 데이터와 응용 프로그램에 대한 인터페이스는 기하급수 기업의 커뮤니티가 공개된 데이터에 자체 데이터를 조합해서 이용한 서비스나 새로운 기능을 개발하는 데 사용될 수 있습니다. 미래의 세상은 우리가 알던 것과 아주 다릅니다. 스타트업이 빠르게 확장하도록 도와주는 강력한 바이럴 마케팅 및 소셜 네트워크 효과 덕분에 새로운 회사를 세워서 기존 산업에 파괴적 혁신을 일으키기는 그 어느 때보다 쉬워졌습니다. 그러나 소셜 네트워크 경우에 예외적 상황도 있을 수 있습니다. 예컨대 페이스북은 이미 확고한 주도권을 확보했기 때문에 네트워크 효과와 로깅 효과로 페이스북 고객을 뺏기는 아주 어려워졌습니다. 제품이나 서비스에 비해서 플랫폼이 엄청난 우위를 갖게 되었습니다. 지금까지 언급한 모든 단계가 합쳐지면, 즉 훌륭한 MTP가 만들어지고 올바른 속성들이 구축되면 놀라운 결과가 나올 수 있습니다. 프로젝트성으로 기하급수 기업을 만드는 조언은 다음과 같습니다. 첫째로 새로운 시장을 쫓아야 됩니다. 기존의 캐시카우를 변화시키거나 지금 있는 사업 부문을 뛰어넘고 싶다면 격리되고 완전한 자율성을 가진 소규모 팀 단위의 독립사업 부문을 만들어야 됩니다. 두 번째는 CEO로부터 직접적 후원을 확보해야 됩니다. CEO 밑에 있는 보고 라인으로 만족하면 안 됩니다. 세 번째는 분류와 합류에 주의해야 됩니다. 성공하면 모든 것을 분리해서 새로운 회사를 세워야 됩니다. 신사업은 어디에도 깔끔히 들어맞지 않을 것이며 사내 정치가 뒤따를 것입니다. 특히 기존 수익원을 잠식한다면 반드시 분리해야 됩니다. 유일한 예외는 개별 프로젝트이 더 큰 플랫폼의 일부를 구성할 때뿐입니다. 네 번째로 기존 조직 내에서 파괴적 혁신에 가장 걸맞고 변화를 꾀할 수 있는 사람을 프로젝트성 기하급수 기업에 투입합니다. 젊은 사람들, 반체제 인사, 그리고 지리적으로 정신적으로 조직의 주변부에 있는 일하는 사람들이 가장 흥미진진하고 자유로우며 개방적 사고를 한다고 합니다. 다섯 번째로 기하급수 기업을 기존 체제나 정책으로부터 완전히 독립시킵니다. 기존 전자나 인프라는 사용하지 않도록 노력합니다. 새로운 스타트업이 모두 그렇듯이 새로운 기하급수 기업은 스텔스 모드로 기밀을 유지하면서 야전 작전을 수행해야 됩니다. 스티브 잡스는 이렇게 말했습니다. 우리는 애플을 스타트업처럼 운영합니다. 논쟁에서는 언제나 서열이 아니라 아이디어가 이깁니다. 그렇지 않다면 최고의 직원들이 회사에 남아있지 않을 것입니다. 협동과 규율, 신뢰는 아주 중요합니다. 다음은 9가지의 성공적 비즈니스 모델을 제안하는 동영상을 보도록 하시겠습니다.
What are the most successful business models of today? My role is to challenge businesses on their business model. And what I did over the last 10-15 years to really watch closely what are some of the key business trends, what are the key business models that are really successful. And I've identified 9 key business models that I want to share with you. The first one is that we're seeing a move to a subscription model, or we see what we call servitization of industries. So in the past, companies would simply produce things and sell them. This is a nice one-off purchase. If you produce cars, it gives you revenue at one point in time. But if you can create a service model, this is different, because what you do is you create an ongoing relationship with your customers. So they usually tend to be much more loyal in the long run. And you have regular revenue streams coming in, and so it's smooth as your cash flow. And we've seen this with recent announcements from companies like Apple. They've now moved to a subscription model, pushed lots of their services. So they want you obviously to pay for an iPhone, but in the future they might simply rent you a phone, saying, okay, the service here is that you have a phone, because you don't really care whether you own this or not. And then with this subscription, you would get the latest model whenever it gets released. But key service elements are Apple Music, other movie streaming services, and so on. And we see this, that companies who have this subscription model actually get much better customer insights from their relationships with customers. If you compare companies like Netflix and Disney, for example, both of those companies are great at producing content. So they both produce films and make entertainment content. The difference is that Disney has no direct access to customers. They don't actually understand how many people are watching the films, when do they skip, what are they watching, what else are they watching? Whereas Netflix has this relationship with customers where they understand exactly what you're watching. They get a complete understanding of you as a consumer, and therefore they understand when you're skipping, which films you're watching, which series you're watching, in what order, and therefore this gives them much more intelligence in terms of what content to produce next. And this is really challenging lots of traditional businesses that have focused on producing products. If you think about Gillette producing shavers, they are now being challenged by the Dollar Shave Club, for example, that is a subscription service. And what I feel is that consumers from Gillette might buy the razor thinking this is nice, it's probably one of the latest, more innovative razors you can buy. However, with the Dollar Shave Club, consumers are building a relationship, so they have this ongoing dialogue with this organization. And this, I think, is what successful businesses will do in the future, move from a product model to a service model. The second business model is creating platforms, platform businesses. So these are businesses that basically create a platform that then connects consumers, or consumers and businesses, or businesses and businesses. So if you think about what companies like Facebook are doing, they're basically creating a platform for you to share information with your friends. But it is consumers like us, we upload content, we put the likes on the content, we share information and photos with each other. And then we interact with each other, and the only thing that Facebook does is it's creating the platform. And the platform then, being able to monitor this platform gives you lots of information and actually a big competitive advantage. If you think about companies like Airbnb, for example, this is now a company that is valued at a huge amount of money, and it doesn't own any hotels, it doesn't own any holiday lets, but it is creating the platform. So anyone, anywhere can now rent parts of their house or their entire house or their hotel room out on Airbnb. And what they do is they're creating the platform, they're making it happen. A bit like Uber is another platform company that creates a platform that connects drivers to people that need a ride or that want a food delivery or whatever you want. And these platforms are hugely scalable. So we've seen this with the growth in these companies like Airbnb and Uber that are very quickly becoming global businesses because it's so easy. You can simply replicate this platform anywhere in the world. And this for me is another key business trend, especially if you can combine some of the other trends I'm talking about here with a platform business. When you bring in services and so on. My third business model is actually being in a sociable and authentic business. I think if we think about the past, what companies did and said, we don't want you to put the company name on your Facebook account, we don't want you to share information on Twitter. And actually companies became these faceless organizations, and what consumers now want is that they want organizations to be real, companies with real values, with opinions. And the most successful businesses nowadays are actually doing this right from the top. So they have a CEO that is on social media, that shares his or her opinions, that stands up for values. And I think this then filters into the organization where everyone in the business does this as well. And I think this is me as a consumer, I want this. I want to relate to organizations. I want them to stand up for the right values, and I want them to support the right behaviors. And companies like Apple, for me, are great examples, where a good example was when the FBI challenged Apple, said, we've caught this criminal, we would like to have access to his iPhone, and we would like to put some code in place so we can access information on the iPhone. And Apple said, actually, security and data privacy is one of the biggest values we feel is really important. And they actually stood up to the FBI and said, no, we will not give you that access. And this for me is really important. And actually, their CEO actually started lots of interesting discussions on social media about data privacy and their values and what they stand for. And I think this is what organizations need to do more of in the future. The fourth business model is where businesses really focus on employees. We're now entering a fourth industrial revolution. The war for talent, or the competition for really talented people with good skills, is increasing, is heating up. So what organizations need to do is they need to attract really talented people. And those organizations that are really employee-centric, what they do is they will make sure that they offer a working environment where employees feel happy, they have nice offices, but they also have nice organizational cultures where everyone feels comfortable, where if you think about companies like Google, they have amazing buildings, they have free canteens, they have table tennis and pool tables, and allow employees to really feel at home. The other thing that I think is happening is that if you are employee-centric, it also means that you can attract people into your business and you're happy for them to leave again. We are now entering this gig economy where more and more of us basically work for smaller amounts of time, for little projects, for different companies offering our skills. And so we have choices as employees. Do I want to work for this company or that company? And the ones that I want to work for are the ones that allow me to come in, feel comfortable, and then happy for me to leave again. And those that actually, while I'm there, give me some support, give me some development opportunities. So employee-centric business models are really important. The fifth one is being partner-centric. What you want in today's fourth industrial revolution is a business model that is really agile, flexible, that you can scale up and down, and that leverages all the other companies. So we need suppliers, we need distributors, we need people that help us in various aspects of our business, and we can also outsource certain parts of our business like HR, like marketing, like finance, like social media, and so on. And businesses that do this really well, they understand what are the core skills I need within my business and which parts can I outsource. So if you think about marketing, for example, I was just talking about being an authentic business. You want to have more people inside your business actually being authentic, doing some of the social media, but other elements of your marketing, be it your SEO for your website and other things, you can outsource to another organization that can then do this. And this allows you this flexibility and scalability to upscale and downscale whenever needed. So the other thing that is happening is that lots of businesses now along the supply chain can outsource so many components. I was recently working with an automotive company that basically is just run by a few people because they can outsource the manufacturing, they can outsource the marketing, they can outsource some of the development, and actually they are building a completely new car, but without employing thousands of people. They are leveraging partners, and this is, I think, a business model more organizations need to explore. Okay, the business model number 6 is about being customer value obsessed. So companies that are really thinking about how can we make the lives of our customers better, how can we take some of the hassle out of their lives. And those are the companies that are thriving at the moment. If you think about retail as a great example, there are lots of, even in traditional retail, we have lots of frictions. We have I need to drive to a shop, park up, remember what I wanted to buy. This might not be on the shelf. When I then load my trolley, I then go to the checkout and have to stand in line, wait, then take everything out of my trolley again to have it scanned, put it back into my bag. This is silly, right? So companies like Amazon have started to rethink this model and saying, do we really need this? Or could we use technology like machine vision technology to actually monitor what you're putting into your shopping bag while you're in the shop? And they use face recognition technology to recognize you. As long as they recognize you and you have an account with them, you simply fill up your bags and you walk out without having to stand in line at all. So companies like Amazon are really, I believe, are customer obsessed. If you think about their online shopping, what they're doing is they're taking any hassle or any difficulties out of our everyday job, like shopping. I can now go into my app, say, oh, I would like to get a camera tomorrow. You go on Amazon, you look at the reviews, you buy it, and they do great recommendations and they have it delivered to your door the next day. So this is about businesses actually thinking, how can we make this customer journey better? Another company I've recently done a video about, which you can see on my channel, is Stitch Fix. Again, what they try to do is try to reimagine buying clothes, so fashion retail. And what they're doing is they're saying, okay, instead of you finding clothes, we will really understand you as a consumer. We know what your sizes are. We will select outfits for you and send them to you. And then you can try them at home and hopefully love them and keep them. And if you don't like them, you send them back and we will learn from this. So again, making the customer journey better, taking out any hassle, being obsessed with creating value to customers is something organizations need to do better. The business model number 7 is constantly innovating businesses. So this is about businesses that are looking at continuous product innovations, continuous service innovations, and continuously improving and innovating the way they operate as a business. So those businesses are not scared of any future trends. They are happy to embrace and celebrate change and actually do something with those new opportunities. So they are happy to cannibalize their own products and services for better, smarter, more intelligent products and services. And this is something I see a lot. There's more demand for smarter products. I now want a washing machine that tells me when there's something wrong. I now want a car that can avoid an accident. So we want smarter products, we want smarter services. I want a music subscription service that gives me a new playlist. So this is what really successful companies do. They innovate their business models, they innovate their products, their services, and the way they operate on an ongoing basis. The 8th business model is being a data-driven business. Data has now become one of the most valuable resources for businesses. There was the famous 2017 cover of The Economist saying that data is now the most valuable resource in the world. So what organizations need to do, they need to be able to leverage this resource and really use it to drive their business performance. So businesses that use data intelligently understand that they need to collect the right data and then use it to improve their products and services. I was talking about smarter products, smarter services, smarter ways of operating, and data usually is the foundation for this. So you need data to understand, you need data to be able to use things like artificial intelligence. So all these big trends that we're seeing at the moment require data. So really data-savvy organizations, data-driven organizations use data to also inform their strategic decision-making. So they use data to understand trends in the industry. They use data to understand what their consumers and customers actually want and what they're doing and where they might be going in the future. So anticipating needs. I was talking about Amazon earlier. Amazon is doing exactly this. They're now developing an algorithm that looks at anticipating what we are going to buy in the future, and then we'll start their logistics to ship things towards us because they're so confident that at some point in the future we will be buying this. So data-driven businesses are the ones that will succeed in the future. And the last business model is being a tech-savvy business. So businesses that really leverage technology and use it to really drive their business forward. So if you think about companies like Apple, like Amazon, like Microsoft, Facebook, some of the most valuable companies on the planet, this is exactly what they're doing. They're using technology at the basis of lots of their improvements. And the other thing is that they're combining the technology with all of the other key business model trends that I talked about, being customer obsessed, really understanding customers, creating platforms, moving to a service model. So organizations that do all of those together and then leverage technology are the ones that are really thriving at the moment. Also, some of the Chinese giants like Baidu, Alibaba, Tencent, they are doing exactly the same. They're creating the technology to allow them to collect data and share data. They have the technology in place to do artificial intelligence and machine learning and natural language processing. They now have tools like voice and chatbots, and they are really leveraging the latest technology. And in lots of my videos I talk about being at the cusp of this new fourth industrial revolution, and technology is a key driver. So if organizations don't explore how things like AI, blockchain, virtual reality, quantum computing, all these major trends, how they will affect their business in the future, and actually trying to experiment to leverage those technologies, then they will be very quickly left behind.